Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Drink and Dissect, a true crime podcast. Everybody grab your drinks because today we're going to be drinking and dissecting the case of Issei Sagawa, aka the Kobe Cannibal. Hey guys, it's Janae and welcome to my first ever podcast episode. Well, my first ever solo podcast episode on the Drink and Dissect channel. I actually filmed this, I keep saying filmed because I'm like thinking of a YouTube video, but I actually recorded this podcast like 2 days ago and I really didn't like the way it came out. I listened to it over again today and it wasn't as bad as I remembered it, but I did not like the software that I was using to edit. It wasn't really, I couldn't edit, so there were just parts that I wanted to cut out that I couldn't. So I'm recording it again. Also, I noticed that I say this word a lot, and I don't want to say it right now because I don't want you guys to like look for it and listen for it, but I'm going to try my best to not say that word. So we're going to give this another shot. This one's going up regardless. I can't record this again. I need to move on to my next case. But anyway, as you heard in the intro, which I actually filmed that about 20 times too, this is not as easy as I thought it would be. It's not hard, but I'm definitely more nervous than I thought. So it's kind of making me like mess up a little bit, but it's all good. I think that we will be fine. So we're finally going to get into our first episode, which is on none other than Issei Sagawa, aka the Kobe Cannibal. I have known about this case for a while. I first heard about him on Bailey Sarian's channel. I think it was like a couple months ago. And then after that, I went into like a deep dive of it because it's such a crazy story to me. And I don't want to like give anything away right now because I forget that some people may not know anything and like you don't know what I know. So I don't want to give any like surprises or details away right now. But it's just a crazy story. And the update, like the today update, is even crazier. So before I get into this, I just want to do a trigger warning. This case involves cannibalism, torture, necrophilia. So if you're not like into that kind of information, I mean, I know you're not into cannibalism and stuff, but if you don't like to hear stuff like that, or if that's a sensitive subject for you, then this is probably not the best podcast for you. But come back next week because next week it's not a cannibal case. But this story is interesting, so if you have a strong stomach, listen, because it will throw you. It will throw you. This is gonna be a ride here, okay? And I just also want to warn that it does get very graphic. I mentioned in my intro podcast episode, if you listen to it, that I'm really into the psychology of these murderers, and in order for me to feel like I can fully like divulge, I think that's the word, divulge in the mind of the killer, is that I need to know all the details. Like, I need to know exactly what they did. You know, as much information as can be given, I need to know that. And I honestly, as I was researching this, I listened to I have 10 different sources of things. I really researched this a lot. All of my sources, by the way, are going to be in the show notes, just in case you're curious. But I really researched a lot, like from some of the things podcasts I listened to were very general, shorter podcasts that kind of just scratched the surface and just gave you kind of like the story, enough for you to know what was going on. And then I listened to ones that were really detailed. And I could tell you that as I learned more and more information and as it got deeper and deeper, I really was able to get more into the mind of Issei Sagawa, and it really did make the case even more interesting. So I'm going to be giving you graphic details. For example, he was a cannibal. I'm going to tell you exactly what he did, and it's sick, it's twisted, it's weird. So if you're not into the cannibal story stuff, then this is definitely not the case for you. But if you are, let's get into it. I'm going to try to keep my intro short from now on, but it's my first podcast, okay? Also, give me some slack. Cut me some slack right now. It's not my first time recording this, but it's my second time, and now I'm more aware. So I'm going to try my best to make this good. Give me some slack. Grab your drink. I have a glass of Merlot next to me. Let's get into this story. I might be a little bit of a long one, but let's get right on into it. So, Issei Sagawa was born April 26th, 1949 in Kobe, Japan. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep stopping. One more thing. There's a lot of names and stuff in here that are Japanese. We even start to go into France. So there's a lot of French words. So if I butcher names or just words, I apologize. I'm just apologizing in advance. So, he was born in Kobe, Japan. He is a Taurus. I don't know much about Taurus, but I do find it interesting to know the astrology signs of killers and murderers and stuff, just to kind of see if there's a pattern. I've noticed that there's a lot of Gemini and Taurus, Virgo killers, but so I will be telling you the astrology sign of each case that I cover. Anyway, so he was born prematurely, and the doctors didn't even think that he would survive. His mom actually also fell down the steps when she was pregnant with him, but he did survive. But his dad said that he was so small when he was born that he could literally fit him in the palm of his hand. And when he was born, he immediately developed enteritis, which is a disease of the small intestine, and he did recover from it. They gave him a bunch of shots, and he recovered from the illness, but it did leave him very weak. He had a lot of health problems, so he was just kind of this fragile, weak, small man. So he was very insecure about his appearance growing up, because as he grew up, he was still small and weak, and that never really changed. But he was born to rich parents. He had a mom, dad, obviously, and he had a brother. His dad, Akira Sagawa, was a businessman, and he served as president of Kurita Water Industries. And his grandfather was the editor for the Asahi Shimbun, which is one of the 4 largest newspapers in Japan. His mom was stay-at-home, but they were a very, very, very wealthy family, and he actually said that he grew up in a very successful, loving home, which is different from, I feel most cases of killers or whatever. I feel a lot of them always come from an abusive home or they had a rough childhood, but he actually said, end quote, his childhood was the best time of his life. He was carefree and his parents loved him deeply. So he had a very nice, normal, probably above normal because he did grow up rich life. So that I found was pretty interesting. But growing up, he was bullied a lot, regardless of being rich and having this great family. He was bullied a lot because he was really, really, really small. At his peak height, when he was an adult, he was only 4'9". So you could imagine how short and small he was growing up. And so he was made fun of a lot. He was bullied. And that kind of just heightened his insecurities. He was already insecure, but he became very introverted, as most people would if they're bullied. That's normal. So he got really into literature and reading. He really liked reading. He was really smart. And reading was kind of an escape for him. So when he kind of wanted to feel like somebody else, he could read and he would kind of escape his life, which I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people read or they write to kind of escape from their life and their mind. So at a younger age, he started becoming a lot more interested in literature that was about monsters and dragons and eating people, because of a game he used to play with his uncle and dad, which I think this is such a strange, this is so interesting to me. I feel like everything's interesting, so I feel like I'm going to say that a lot, but his uncle would dress up as a monster and he would chase him and his brother around the house and pretend he was going to put them in a pot and eat them, and then his dad would be the hero and would come save them. But I think that that's a very normal game. I work in a preschool, and every single day the kids want me to pretend to be a monster and run around and chase them, pretend I'm going to eat them. They throw me in jail and stuff like that. It's a normal game that people play with kids. But to Issei, this was something more than that. He got so scared. As a kid, it's scary. You know what I mean? But he got such a rush and a good feeling during the game. And it kind of started a tiny flame in his head that somehow piqued his interest in monsters and actually eating people. At a young age, playing this game, he actually related it and correlated it with wanting to, having this kind of curiosity about, like, actually eating people, which is so weird. It didn't really say exactly how old he was when this game was playing, but he was definitely young. So I find that very odd that at such a small, young age, he could kind of associate that and, like, really genuinely want to eat people, because the kids I work with are like 4 or 5, and I can't picture them thinking like that. I just feel like Issei has a lot of advanced thoughts. For example, his first cannibalistic desire happened only in first grade. He was, 6? What are you in first grade? Like 6 or 7? After seeing a male classmate's thigh, he thought it looked delicious, and he had the desire to literally take a bite of it. In first grade, he saw a male classmate's thigh and wanted to take a bite of it. Like, that's just very abnormal for that age. I also thought it was kind of weird that he saw a male thigh and thought it looked delicious, simply because you'll find out later as we go into the story that he was very, very, very obsessed with women. Like, obsessed. Like, Joe U. Stalker level obsessed with women. So I find it odd that a male was, like, what started this, like, was the first thing he saw. I saw, like, some theories, which I was kind of thinking too, like, it kind of gave, like, low-key, like, maybe some type of homosexual vibe, but I don't know. His later actions don't really allude to that, but it's something to think about. That's never really talked about further, so we're not really going to get into that. But anyway, like I said, his family was very close. However, it wasn't like the kind of family where he could openly talk about certain things like sex, for example. Some families aren't like that. Some families are more open than others, whether it be tradition or just some parents just don't want to like talk like that. It's different, but his household, that was not something that was talked about. So he did not know anything about, like, erections, masturbating, like the things that you grow up thinking about. He didn't know how to handle them, or even that they existed, probably, and he really didn't know, like, he really couldn't go to his parents when things did start happening. So, like, when the first time he got an erection, he thought something was wrong with him, and he was really embarrassed. But obviously, when you get that, or you get turned on by something, you know, it's like a feeling in your body. So he knew that it was something, but he didn't really have anyone to ask. But because of that, this led him to, quote, do weird things like making my dog lick it off. So he would make his dog lick off his boners, which is really gross, but whatever. Eventually, this kind of expanded, and it led to him developing really strong infatuations with women, which eventually led to a very strong desire to eat them. Like, most people, like, start loving women, and they, wanna take them on a date, or they get obsessed with the way they look. He was obsessed with wanting to eat them. Like, he saw a woman and he was like, I want to eat her. Like, eat her. Not in a good way either. Like, he wants to cook them and take a bite out of them, which is something. At first, when he was younger, like around 15, he did think that his desires were odd. Like, he did think, like, okay, this is not normal, I don't think, for someone to want to eat somebody. And he wanted to he was thinking about seeking therapy, but he couldn't bring himself to kind of tell anybody or, like, tell his parents. So that kind of went away. He never actually went to therapy and never tried to fix anything. And as he grew up, he kind of started to not find his desires to be so odd anymore. He rather wondered why everyone didn't think like this too. So he said something along the lines of how it was simply a fetish, and the same thing as how normal boys would think of women. Pretty much like, when you like a girl, you're going to fantasize about her and want to be close to her, smell her, kiss her, etc. And he thought that his cannibalistic feelings were just like an extension of that. Like, why doesn't everybody feel this way too? Like, don't you want to be close to the girls? Don't you want to eat them? Like, what do you mean? So he thought it was like kind of, I don't think he thought it was normal, but I think that he kind of tried to normalize it in his head by saying stuff like that. But the thing about Issei that I want to, like, say early on, so that you guys kind of have it in your head and you could think about it, he was very self-aware. Like, he wasn't delusional. He wasn't, like, thinking that he was a great person, or, like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it right now, but you'll see that he was a very self-aware person. Like, he knew he was weird. He knew he was not normal, but he still ended up doing the shit he did anyway. So what is self-aware if you're still going to do it anyway and not help yourself? But anyway, fast forward a couple of years when things start to get interesting. At age 24, he attended Waco University in Tokyo, where he majored in literature. Again, he was a really, really, really smart man. But when he was at Waco University, this is when he would begin to act on some of his desires. So the first incident, Issei followed a tall, beautiful, blonde German woman home. I guess he saw her on the street. I don't know. There's kind of conflicting research. I think there's a couple things in the story that kind of conflict, like research-wise. Like some sources say one thing and some sources say another. So there are certain things that it's not totally clear, but it's smaller things that don't really make a big difference. So I don't know if he had known this blonde woman and had seen her before, or if this was like the first time he was seeing her. But nonetheless, he saw her, he was attracted to her, he wanted to eat her, he wanted to take a bite. All he could think about was taking a bite of her booty. So one night he decided to follow her home. This was very impulsive, by the way. He did not plan this. This is why I think that he had just seen her on the street for the first time, because he didn't like plan this. He just had the desire and he just no longer could stop it. So he's like, I'm gonna follow her home. His plan was to take a slice of her booty and take it home so that he could like cook it and eat it. So he wanted to just go in and while she was sleeping, just do that. Like he wasn't trying to murder her. Like he wasn't going to go in and kill her or anything. He just wanted to take a piece of her butt. And that's another interesting thing about Issei. He wasn't interested in murder at all. Like that did not turn him on at all. That did not excite him. He just wanted to eat them. So if he could just eat a woman without having to kill her, that's what he wanted. Like he didn't really want to murder anybody, which is interesting because, I mean, he ends up eating somebody. So you would think that would correlate with like wanting the satisfaction of murdering them too, but no, he really just wanted to eat them. He was so infatuated with women that's all that he wanted. But when he got into the house, or the apartment rather, she was sleeping naked. So he didn't even bring anything with him. He didn't bring his own knife. So he actually had to go into her like kitchen and find a knife. And he didn't really kind of plan for how he was going to knock her out. So he took an umbrella and he was going to try to knock her out with an umbrella. Again, Issei is 5'9" and probably like 110 pounds soaking wet. I don't really know why he would think that he had the strength to knock a tall, probably bigger than him woman, definitely bigger than him woman, out. Like that would be hard for people who are strong, let alone you. But he ended up brushing up against her or something. She woke up and she was scared, of course, as a random freaky looking man in her house. So she was bigger than him. So she overpowered him and she called the police. And when the police came, they charged him with attempted rape, and he never told them what he was really there for. Like he didn't go out and be like, actually I was here to eat a piece of her butt or like take a piece of her butt home. Not rape. I was just gonna, slice a piece off. Like, he didn't say that, of course. He just took that rape charge and went along with what they were saying. But again, back to the parents. His parents were rich. Daddy was rich. So he came and he paid a settlement to the victim, and those charges were dropped. So that wasn't on his record anymore. So Issei gets a free record now. There's nothing holding him back. Still, he got caught, he caught one too many breaks, if you ask me, and you'll see as we go on. But when he turned 28, he didn't do anything after that for, as you could see, 4 years, I guess. A couple of years. Actually, he still didn't do it at 28. So a couple of years went by. I guess that situation freaked him out, and he didn't have the balls to try it again. The thoughts never went away, but he just never tried. But at 28, he moved to France. He moved out of Japan to get his PhD in comparative literature, and he went to Sorbonne University in Paris. His mom was actually kind of nervous for him to go to Japan. I think she had that feeling, that motherly feeling, because I don't think he ever told, obviously he didn't tell his parents why he was in that woman's house, but they still thought that he was trying to rape her. They still thought, okay, our son is is he a rapist? What is he gonna do when he's in France and he's all by himself and we're not there? What is he gonna get himself into, But he went, and once he went there, we will find that his desires got even worse, and he started becoming obsessed with wanting to eat women, and he, quote, his desires, quote, had changed into an obligation. So now he's obligated. He feels like he has to fulfill this desire. And I think probably the freedom of being alone in France is probably what made him really start to get this strong urge. But before we get into all that, I have this one little thing that I want to share that I thought was crazy. after he finished his graduate program, like before he went to Sorbonne University, he took a little trip. He wanted to go on like a luxury cruise, as some people would like to do, like, to celebrate, I just graduated, whatever. So he wanted to go to Greece. So he took a nice luxury cruise, and I don't know if you've been on a cruise, but like usually when it's dinner time, you kind of sit with random people. So he was having dinner, and he was sitting at a table with a butcher and his wife. And he was talking to this man. He was like showing interest in the butcher's job. So the butcher kind of started going into detail, like explaining to him how he butchered meat and like what he did to butcher meat. And Issei's psychotic mind to the butcher, now the butcher didn't know this, but Issei was taking little mental notes about how he's going to butcher a woman one day. So later on, after he committed his crime, he actually wrote a note thanking the butcher for teaching him that. Like, he literally wrote him a note being like, hey, thanks for teaching me how to butcher meat. I used it to butcher a woman and eat her. Thank you so much. Thank you. The butcher never wrote back. I don't know why he expected him to write back, but imagine receiving a letter saying, hey, remember me, that weirdo little freaky looking guy who was asking you about butchering meat? I wanted to kill somebody and eat them, and you helped. Thank you so much. Like, what did he want him to say? Like, right on, good job, that you're welcome. Like, why would you even, he had the audacity to send this man a letter. Like, I can't even imagine how that butcher felt. I mean, obviously he wouldn't know that that's what that man was, that he was planning on killing and butchering a woman, but still, you gotta feel some type of, like, level of, like, shit, if I didn't tell him, like, maybe he wouldn't have been able to do it. I don't know, but I just thought that was, like, interesting, and just shows you how weird Issei and how fucking delusional he was. Like, why would you think that that was okay to do? I don't know, but he did it. So, moving on. His desires to eat women, like I said, became an obligation, and it was getting harder and harder for him to fight. I don't think that he was, like, fighting hard. I think just him being nervous and scared to actually, like, pull the trigger and do it was more so the reason that he didn't do it sooner. But as he, lived on, it was getting harder and harder to fight it. So he needed to do it at this point. Like, he knew he was going to do it. There was no way that he wasn't. He needed to taste what a woman's flesh tasted like. So when he was living in Paris, he said that every night he would bring home different prostitutes with the intention of killing them or practicing to kill them and eating them. But when they would come, he would, like, get the gun, but he would never have the balls to actually pull the trigger. Going back to, again, his fetish wasn't killing people, so it kind of made him nervous. Like, he didn't want to murder anybody. He was scared. But he knew at this point, like, okay, I can't eat the woman unless I kill her. So there's no way getting around killing her. No woman's going to be like, yeah, sure, slice my body up while I'm living. Like, so he knew he had to. So he needed to practice. So he had a prostitute every night practicing, and they were all unsuccessful. I don't know how many prostitutes this man went through. I'm really curious to know, but I wasn't able to find it. But, like, every night? You had the chance every night. Thank God he didn't do it, but, like, he had the chance every night, and he didn't do it once until, like, years later. I thought that was crazy. So he does this for years, like I just said, and he never kills anyone. That all changes in 1980 to 1981, when he would finally begin following his dream of eating a woman. At this point, he was 32, so he waited, like, a few more years. Like, from the time he was 24 to when he, like, started it with that first attempt, now he's 32 years old. Like, it's 8 years have gone by, and he hasn't done anything yet. Sorry, a loud car is passing. I hope you can't hear it. But anyway, this is when he would meet Renee Hartevelt. She was a young, tall, beautiful, 25-year-old Dutch girl from Holland. She was also attending this school to get her PhD in French literature. She was also very, very intelligent. She spoke 3 languages. She was his type. His type was young, beautiful, Western, foreign-looking woman. He was very into white ladies. And he said that he did not notice her right away, but he noticed her towards the end of the course, and then that's when he became infatuated, which I thought was also interesting, because usually that's, like, the first thing you'll notice when you walk into class, like, ooh, there's a hot guy, like, you'll notice them from the beginning, but he didn't notice her right away. But regardless, he did end up noticing her, and he became obsessed. He didn't want to be caught staring at her, so he would make a sketch of her to look at, which I feel like you'd have to look at her to make the sketch. So he probably looked like a fucking psycho, like staring at her and drawing. Did nobody see him drawing this sketch? I don't know. But he ended up approaching her, and he lied and said that his professor needed some German poetry recorded and asked her if she could help him. And he, of course, had to mention Rich Daddy and tell her that he was very wealthy and that he could pay her like a nice sum of money. So, I mean, come on. Any college student is going to take that. Why not? They don't know how much he offered her, but it was probably a lot. And even if it wasn't, like, again, why would she not take it? But so she ended up helping him and whatever, doing the assignments with him, but they ended up like kind of bonding a lot, and they actually started hanging out pretty frequently, like to the point where like she was writing her parents a letter and she told them about him. Like, I met this new guy and he's like a really cool guy, he's my friend. She just looked at him as a friend. They had a lot in common. They were both really, really, really smart. They were majoring in the same thing. They had a lot of like similar interests. And she really did enjoy his friendship. That was it. She was not sexually or romantically attracted to him at all. Obviously, he started developing feelings. And what that means for Issei is that he began being obsessed with her because he's crazy. And he fell in love with her. And it wasn't even just the cannibalistic feelings. Like, he actually fell in love with her. But obviously, that made his desire to eat her even more. He had chosen her because she was beautiful and she had all the qualities that he lacked. She was healthy and tall and beautiful, and he considered himself ugly and weak and small. So in his mind, if he thought that if he ate her, he would be able to absorb some of her energy, which again, I think is so odd. Like, he was a man, like you would think that he would want to maybe eat like a strong, healthy man since he was a man, but he always wanted to gain the energy of like beautiful, healthy women. So I don't know what that is about, but it's something to think about. Maybe it was just his love for them that kind of, eating them would also like make them even closer, but that's just me like saying, like, just, making little added thoughts. But he did struggle for a while with these feelings because he did love her and he knew he had to kill her to eat her, which is what he wanted ultimately, but at the same time he didn't want to kill her because he did love her. He actually said that if maybe she would have let him like drink her urine or gave him like some of her pubes to do what with, I don't fucking know. God only knows what he would have done with these things. He said that maybe if she would have given him that stuff, then that might have satisfied the craving for her. But obviously he was not going to ask her to do that because what normal person would give you that? Like, that would probably immediately make her never talk to you again. And he knew that. Again, he was very self-aware. But I don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think that would have satisfied his craving. He had too strong, in my opinion, desires to eat a woman. I don't think that anything would satisfy him but actually eating the woman. Like, I do not think that would have been enough. I think that would probably have made him want to eat her even more, honestly. But again, that's my opinion. But this is when he determined, like, he wanted to eat her. So there was the first attempt. He invited her over one night to help him with his German. And his plan was, when her back was turned, he was going to shoot her in the back of the head. And then eat her. Like, proceed to go crazy. And he actually attempted to do it. But when he did, like, she turned around, I think she was sitting on a chair or the couch or something, and she was just talking, and her back was turned. He lifted the gun and put it to the back of her head, but when he went to go shoot, the gun jammed. Like, luckily, the gun jammed, and he wasn't able to shoot her. Unluckily, she did not notice any of this. It saddens me because if she had turned around or heard something and would have, seen this, then she would have never spoken to him again. And maybe she could have, avoided this terrible, terrible death. But she did not hear anything. She didn't see anything. He quickly put it away, and that freaked him out. So he didn't even try to, like, continue to do it that night. And it's just so sad. It really is so sad that she didn't notice, because it really could have stopped her. I mean, it would have been somebody if not her, but, it's just sad all around. But that was not going to stop him from doing it again. I think she came over again. It was either the night after or one of the nights soon after that. It wasn't that long. But again, he asked her over, said he needed some help with his German. Again, same plan. To shoot and eat her. So on June 11th, 1981 is when she finally came back, and this would be the night where he succeeded with this. So he invited her over again, like I said. This time he had given her some tea that he spiked with whiskey, hoping that it would loosen her up a little bit, you know. And I don't know if she knew that there was whiskey in there or not. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you'd be able to, like, whiskey's strong, so I feel like you would be able to taste it, and, like, unless he used such a little amount, but then how would that get her tipsy? I don't know. Whatever. This is just little extra stuff that I think about when I'm reading this stuff. I'm telling you, I get really into this shit. Like, I think about every little detail. But once he saw her starting to get a little tipsy, he decided to confess his love for her. And he told her that he wanted to take her to bed. As we know, she was not interested in him, so obviously she was going to turn him down, and she did turn him down. And it's that point, I guess, that he knew that he for sure 100% was going to eat her, although I think that he was going to do it regardless. But I do think I remember reading somewhere or hearing somewhere that he said something along the lines of if she would have reciprocated the feelings, or if they would have went like on more dates, then maybe he wouldn't have decided to kill her. But again, I don't think that is the case. Like, the way that he talks, the way that he is, the way that he's expressed his feelings, I feel like getting closer to her, or anybody that he was planning on doing this to would only make the feelings worse, because like, the more that he was obsessed with her and in love with her and, like, thought she was the most amazing person ever, I feel like that would make him want to eat her more. So, I don't really know. I'm not in his mind, but it's just little observations, like I said. So, this was when it all started again. She had her back turned. I think that he had asked her to, like, record or herself speaking, like, reading a poem or something in German. So, he was, like, just talking to her like nothing was wrong. And that's when he took the rifle out again, pointed it to the back of her head, and this time successfully shot her in the back of the neck. Some reports say head, some reports say neck. Either way, that was it. He shot her. He said that after he shot her, at first, she continued to talk until she fell silent. So I guess, like, the shock of it, she didn't know what had hit her, so she just continued speaking until she went silent, and she fell down, and he had successfully killed her. So immediately after he shot her and killed her, he actually fainted because of the shock. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. He did not want to murder anybody, so he fainted. It just, like, gets me crazy. Like, he's going to go on to totally dismember this woman's body, but he fainted when he shot her. Like, the most heinous shit I'm about to tell you that he did, but shooting her is what made him faint. He's like a crackpot. I swear to God, this guy to me is just like, unreal. But anyway, so when he woke up, he saw what he had done, and he knew that he had to finish out his acts. However, he did at one point have a little thought of maybe calling an ambulance, a little bit of regret perhaps, but he quickly decided against that, because at this point he already killed her. Like, he already went this far, and his, like, dream of eating a woman's body was, like, literally right in front of him. So he was just like, yeah, no, I got to do this tonight. So his plan was to have sex with her dead body, which he did do that. And then just kind of, like, start eating her. But what he wanted to really do was, I guess, feel himself just, like, use his teeth to bite into her body, specifically her booty. But when he tried to do that, he realized that his teeth weren't strong enough to bite through human flesh. For someone who has a PhD and is very, very intelligent, he's kind of stupid too. Like, when you'll see, I'll tell you something else, but, like, why would you think that your teeth would be able to bite into human flesh? Like, come on. And what's funny about this? Not funny, you know what I mean, but he decided when he wanted to take this bite of her booty, he wanted to take a bite from the right cheek. Why? Because he thought the left, since it's closer to the heart, would bleed more, and Issei was afraid of blood. He didn't like blood. He did not like blood, but he had this plan of cutting open a human body. Like, what did he think was going to come out of it? Like, you don't like blood, but you just shot somebody and you're going to proceed to eat her, but you don't like blood. Clearly, blood doesn't bother you too much. But anyway, okay, cool, right on, whatever. So when he realized that his teeth were not strong enough, he went into the kitchen to find a knife, but all he had was like fruit knives, and that wasn't working either. None of them were enough to like slice through her to like really get in there, you know? So he ended up leaving to buy a curved meat knife, and this worked for him. So he came back and he started going to town. Literally anything you could think and more, he did to this girl's body. The first thing he did, he just had to. He'd been thinking about this for the past 34 years. He needed to cut into her butt and thigh. And he said that when he cut into her butt, I think, like the first layer, couple layers was like a Cornish-like texture, which anybody who knows basic anatomy and basic facts about the human body, you know that's fat. But he didn't realize that. And again, for someone who's so intelligent, like, I don't know, like, how do you not know that? But whatever. But when he finally cut past all that, he got to the red meat, so like the lean meat, and he tore a piece off with his finger and just tossed it into his mouth like it was a piece of candy. And he said that the second he ate it, it felt like a historical moment. Like, this is what he has been waiting for his whole fucking life. So this was historical to him. Psycho. And he said he described it as melting in his mouth like raw tuna from a sushi restaurant. Just picture, don't picture too hard, but just think about how sick this man probably looked in his house doing all this, probably like elated, like, ugh, I can't even wrap my head around this. And that's why I find this case to be so crazy, is like, it doesn't even feel real. Like, this does not feel like it really could possibly happen. Like, somebody cannot be this mentally challenged and deranged that this is happening. Like, it's just wild. But anyway, he wanted to experiment with all her body. He wanted a little taste of everything. The first thing he decided to do after that whole, like, historical moment he made a fried meal. So he fried a piece of her body and ate it with mustard. He didn't like that. He said it was too greasy. So he tried different parts of her, and he would experiment with different ways of cooking it. He would boil it, grill it, fry it. He would eat it raw sometimes. Like, he just wanted to try this in any which way to see what tasted the best. He would try her with different sauces and different condiments and all this stuff. Like, he was having a feast of a human body. Like, he only had her body for 2 days. So in 2 days, he just, like, stayed home and just cut and ate a human being for 2 days. Like, oh my God, it's just wild to me. But he ended up eating most of her breast, face, and butt. He did not really like the breasts, he said. He said that they were mostly fat, and I guess the fat, it was greasy. It provided too greasy for Issei's liking. So he really liked the butt and the thighs and, like, the leaner meats. After every stage or step, he would take a picture of her body. And he also saved a lot of it in the refrigerator. He knew that he was going to have to get rid of her body soon because it was June. It was the hottest month of the year. She was going to start to smell. There were going to start to be flies. So he did end up saving a lot of it. Like, a lot of it he just threw in the freezer to try later on. He said that he was surprised at the way that human fat looked. He was surprised that it looked so corn-like and that it was soft and it, like, melted in his mouth. Ugh, please. But he did not like the way it tasted, like I said before. He was fascinated by her arm for some reason, so he ended up chewing her arm from her underarm all the way down to her elbow. Like, he just chewed it, all of it. He said he had no idea it would taste so good. Ugh. This is gross, so warning. Close your ears for the next 5 seconds if you don't want to hear something really gross. But he also wanted to experiment with the parts of her body, that he found repulsive, like her anus. He literally pulled out her anus and just popped it in his mouth raw. But he said the smell was so bad that he spit it out. But he wasn't done. He had to try it again. This time he decided to fry it to see if that would taste better. But he said that did not help with the smell, so he just gave up on the anus thing. Okay. While he was cooking to her, just to show even more how totally psychotic this man is, as he was eating her and all this stuff was going on, he was listening to the recordings that she had made for him. So he's listening to her voice on these recordings as he's, like, literally dismembering her and cooking her. He's also talking to the body. So he's telling her how much he loved her. He's telling her that there was nothing more delicious than her body. he would use her underwear as a napkin. And later when he would dispose of the body, he actually kept her pants, almost like a souvenir, and got rid of the rest of her clothes. Like, oh my God, he's just disgusting. He even recorded himself saying that when he hugged her, I guess like soon after she had died, she let out like a little breath, which this is obviously just a scientific explanation. I don't know the particulars about it, but obviously there's still some like gases and stuff in your body after you die. And she really didn't breathe, but it like appeared, like sounded like a breath, you know? Or you know what I mean? Like she wasn't alive, but a breath got let out. He also would sleep with her corpse, what was left of it, for both days. So he also would upgrade to getting an electric cutter. I guess he wanted to cut at faster speeds. I guess he was tired of cutting with his knife, or he wanted to do it faster. I don't know, but he even went out and got himself an electric cutter. So eventually she did end up getting flies 2 days later. She ended up getting flies. He knew that it was going to start to smell. He got to get rid of this body. So this is when he started the disposal process. He actually bought 2 suitcases just for the occasion. So his plan was to just cut her body up, put her in the suitcases, and drop her. So as he was cutting her up, he did his last bit of experimenting. So he cut off her nose, and he bit into her nose so hard that he could hear cartilage crunching in his mouth. Like, why is that, like, something that you would want to do? Like, what about this is like, oh, like, yeah, this is something I need. I don't know. It's just crazy. This is what I'm saying. Like, the psychology of it is crazy. Because, like, obviously normal people wouldn't want this. But what makes him just fucking love this? Like, he literally was getting aroused as he was cutting up her body. And he used her hand to masturbate. Like, that's how much he was loving this. He also cut out her tongue, and he watched himself chew it in the mirror. And he was very fascinated, or like, he loved her lips. So he cut those off too, saved them for later. And he also, if he couldn't get any more, like, disrespectful, he had to also investigate and explore her internal organs. Like, nothing was left untouched. But his hands were burning from the digestive fluid, so he didn't go any further with that. And the last sick act, the finale to all this, is that he cut her head off and hung it, like, in front of a mirror so that he could look at the head and himself in the mirror. And he said that at that moment was when he had this realization, and he was just like, I am a cannibal. After all of that shit that I just told you he did, it was the last thing, the last moment that he realized, you were a cannibal, honey. You've been a cannibal since you tried to bite her butt with your bare teeth. You're sick. Actually. But anyway, he ended up just stuffing her into these suitcases, and now he needed to get rid of them. I just wanted to note, I just find it so crazy, again, like, psychologically, how these people work. Like, he had claimed to love her so much. He was so infatuated with her. But he could sit there and cut open her body and kill her. And, like, what about that is love? Like, how do these people's minds work that you could do that to somebody that you claim to love? And he actually said the only thing he regrets about this entire thing is that he wished that he would have ate her alive. Not because he loved her, or because she didn't deserve to die, or because she was a good person, or, you know, just because he didn't want to kill her. He just simply wished that because his desire was to eat living flesh, not dead flesh. Like, okay, all right, buddy, whatever. So he ended up calling a cab. Again, he was planning to dump these bodies in a park. So he decided that he wanted to bring her to the Bois de Boulogne. And again, I'm definitely butchering that name. But it's a very, very, very large populated park in Paris. I think it's like the second largest park in Paris. It's 2,088 acres, which, if you know Central Park, it's 2.5 times the size of Central Park. And I say that because I'm from New York, so I can kind of visualize it. You could literally spend a whole day in Central Park and not even go through the whole thing. And this place is 2.5 times the size. And he decides to bring her there. His plan was to bring her there, but he went there at like 8 p.m. It was still light. He said he didn't realize it would be so light. Do you not live there every day? You don't know that at 8 o'clock it's light out still? When you walked out of the house, did you not see that it was light? But you still proceeded to go along with the plan? Like, again, for somebody who's intelligent, he just some of the stuff is just so stupid. And it's like, it's not even like I could say like, oh, thank God he did this and he, you know, he was stupid and made these errors. And you'll see why in a little bit, why it's not even satisfying that he made these stupid mistakes. But so he brought these 2 suitcases out to the cab, and the bags were so heavy he was like struggling to put it in the trunk. So the cab driver actually got out and helped him, and the cab driver joked. He's like, what, do you have a dead body in here? To which Issei was like, no, it's full of books, whatever. Why do you have 2 suitcases of books? But, you know, I don't think anyone would think like, oh yeah, there's really a dead body in here. So he just brought him to the park. Again, it was 8 p.m. It was still light out. There were still many people around. And for some reason, even though he's getting out of the cab, sees this, he decides to continue with his plan. So like I said, the bags were heavy. He couldn't even get it into the cab. So obviously he's going to struggle to carry the bags through this big park to the lake. So he was trying to push them, but like he was struggling. So he was creating a scene, and people were staring at him because they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Trying to push these 2 huge suitcases that are probably bigger than him down to the lake. So he was getting a lot of anxiety because he could feel people watching him. He felt like everyone was watching him, and he was absolutely correct. They all were watching him. So he tried to like push it into the lake, and I guess one of them might have went into the lake, but one of them didn't. But he was just like, he needed a little break. He was stressed. So he like decided to walk and just like look at the sunset. And as he was doing that, he left the bag unattended, and 2 people walked by. Some reports say it was like a man and a woman, and some reports say it was a man and his son. It doesn't really matter. It was 2 people. One of them being a man who ends up asking Issei, you know, he sees the bags. Again, some reports say that the bags were bleeding, like leaking blood, and some reports don't say that. But regardless, this man saw the unattended bag, and he asked Issei, are these your bags? And for some reason, Issei said no, which I don't really know why he would say no. Like, if you say no, this man's gonna have like be like, okay, free game, I'm gonna open it. If you would have said, yeah, that's my bag, he's not gonna just open your bag in front of you. So I don't really know why he said no. I guess he wasn't thinking, as he seemed to not do a lot. Again, for such an intelligent man, he's pretty fucking stupid. But the man ends up opening the bags, and he sees a bedsheet, a bloody bedsheet, and he screams bloody murder, murderer, and the police are called, obviously. Now, again, the reports are kind of confusing here. Like, I don't know if people had kind of like tried to stop him from leaving, or they had noticed like, okay, that's the guy who we just all watched struggling with the bag. But Issei somehow slips away and goes home. And he's able to get away for 4 days. And mind you, for all these 4 days, after he just dropped these bags, after he physically saw people find it, he knew the police were called. He's just sitting in his apartment for the 4 days, continuing to eat the parts of Renee that he saved, which is crazy in itself. Like, you still, like, I don't know, but people, like I said, there was a lot of people there. A lot of people saw him, and saw this man struggling with the bag, so they were able to kind of be witnesses to the police. And the police also reached out to like local cab companies, asking around, saying, you know, did anybody come in your cab in the past couple of days? Gave him a description, and he, you know, he would have been struggling with bags. So the cab driver heard about this, and he actually did come forward and say, yeah, I did pick this guy up with 2 heavy bags. It's Issei, surprise, surprise. So the police get him after 4 days, and he doesn't put up a fight. He doesn't deny his crimes. He said, I just wanted to taste her flesh. Like, flat out just told them the truth. And he actually said that he was relieved when he got arrested because he could, quote, finally communicate with people, which I'm not too sure what he means by that. But that is what he said. I don't really know. Take that as you want. But of course, Rich Daddy comes back in the picture. He's always there to help Issei out. He paid for a really great lawyer, obviously. And you know how it goes when you have money and you can pay for things like a great lawyer. 3 psychiatrists in France deemed him mentally insane. So after serving just 2 years in jail, French judge, gonna butcher it, Jean-Louis Bruguière, declared him legally insane and unfit to stand trial. So the charges were dropped, and he was sentenced to life in a criminal psychiatric ward. Ooh, yay, we think he's gonna be locked away for good. No, wrong. But while he was in that institution, Issei was visited by this author in Inuhiko Yamoda. And he interviewed him for a book that he was writing on Issei's case. It was called In the Fog. He just interviewed Issei about the crime, and somehow he was able to get the police crime photos. I guess there was like some type of dirty cop, I don't know, but he got them. Photos that should never have been released. It was literally photos of Renee's dead body. I'm sorry that I keep saying her. I should say her name more, because she should get as much, like, she should be talked about just as much, if not more, than him. But those photos were pictures of Renee's body. I told you before that he would take pictures after every step. Those are the photos I'm talking about. The picture of the suitcase. You could see her foot in the picture in the suitcase. I'm not going to include photos. You can go to my Instagram, and I'm going to include photos of her alive and him, just to give you like a picture, but I'm not going to include those photos, the graphic ones, obviously. They are online. You could look at them if you want. I don't suggest it. It's very gruesome. But it's crazy that you could still, to this day, see this woman's pictures. Like, she can't even rest in peace. And it's so fucking sad. She was such a young, beautiful, smart girl. She had so much to live for this little loser to take her life because his sick fantasies. Like, it's just really sad. But anyway, this man did write this book. I don't know if I told you, it was titled In the Fog, and that gained him, Issei, a lot of notoriety and publicity. People were like, whoa, you know, and the French officials did not like the attention it was bringing to France, and French citizens were upset too. Like, they were saying, you know, he's not even French, he's from Japan. Why do we have him here? Why are we paying our tax dollars to keep him in France? So that's when they decided to deport him back to Japan. So while he was deported back to Japan, he was committed to Matsuzawa Hospital, which is another psychiatric hospital. There, the doctors kind of evaluated him again, and they said, opposing what the French psychiatrist said, they said that he was not mentally ill, he was evil, and he had a personality disorder, and that his sexual desires were the sole case of the murder, obviously. And yeah, he wasn't mentally unstable. So they wanted to put him on trial because they didn't agree with what the French government and officials decided to do. But since the charges were dropped, the charges against him in France were dropped, his court documents were sealed, and when the Japanese government wanted to put him on trial for the murder again, they could not get any of the evidence. So they legally could not hold him anymore, and they forced him to leave the hospital. So he checked out of the hospital himself, which, note, he seemed a little bit upset by this in an interview I saw with Vice, which, again, you should watch that. It's called Interview with the Cannibal. It's very, very interesting. But he seemed a little upset that he was forced pretty much to check himself out of the hospital. I'm not really sure why. Maybe to him it was kind of just like a safe zone. Like he felt like he couldn't really do anything, and maybe that made him feel better. I don't really know what the reason is, but anyway, he did check himself out of the hospital on August 12th, 1986, and he has been free ever since. So he served 2 years, I think, or maybe 4 in total. I don't know the exact number, but it's a very small amount of time, and he was set free. So essentially, Renee got literally no justice. Not only is her killer to this day walking out free, but all the pictures of her mutilated body are still out for people to see. Like, it's very, 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 very frustrating situation, because after hearing all that, it's like, how do you possibly let this man go? And honestly, some reports kind of like say the family, his rich family, had something to do with it, and some say they didn't, but I can't imagine that they didn't, in my opinion. Like, you don't just get to walk. Like, that just seems like too big of a loophole, that the thing was sealed and they couldn't give the evidence to Japan. Like, that just seems a little bit too perfect of a situation for, you know, money and stuff to not be involved. But again, that is my opinion. If you watch the interview with Vice, it goes on to show that Issei really didn't learn his lesson when he got out of the mental institution. He still went after women, Western women. He would steal money from his father to use to take women out and stuff. But he claims he did not eat another woman. That's what he's saying, but who knows if that's true or not, honestly. Like, I don't know, I just feel like his desires were way too strong to just stop there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again and just did it better. You know what I mean? But then again, he could not have. I don't really know. We'll never know, I'm sure. But he did meet this white woman named Rhonda, like, soon after getting out. He became obsessed with her. And she had a friend named Talia, who was also very gorgeous. He said that he believed they were lesbians. I'm not really sure why. He didn't really go into detail about that. But he never slept with either of them. They were just beautiful women that he hung out with. And I think that he knew that they were kind of just using him to pay for trips. Like, they would go to Canada together and India. Then he and Rhonda went on, like, a few trips alone together. And they didn't know that he was a cannibal, and they didn't know his past, so they just kind of had a fun, carefree time, traveling. They introduced him to drugs. They would, like, take sexy pictures, and I think that they were just doing everything they knew he wanted. They were using him as, like, a sugar daddy, so they would take, like, sexy pictures and stuff, but they never did anything with him. I'm sure they never had any intention. You know, he was getting the company, they were getting free trips, so it was a win-win situation, I guess, for everybody. But eventually, Talia's boyfriend had found out about his past and had told her to stay away from him, so that relationship, friendship, whatever, fizzled away. After this, he had gotten over his obsession with white women. I guess he was like, all right, I'm done. Let me move on to the next race. So he was only into Japanese women from then on. It was really weird because in the interview, he was like, he had a wall of pictures of different Japanese women. They were like famous models. I think it was weird they even included this in the interview. Like, it seemed very distasteful, but he was literally just showing all these, like, famous Japanese women, and he was talking about them like they were, like, he was looking at a menu for a restaurant. It's just so weird because you're hearing this man who clearly still has these fucked up, weird, sick, disgusting thoughts, and he's just free to have them and live, and it's just really crazy. But even about one of them, listen to how sick this is. One of the women, he said, she's, quote, she looks too good to eat. He wanted to bury himself in her armpit and die. Like, is that not the weirdest shit ever? He was just weird. He said they all looked delicious, and he actually called himself a pervert. Like, he's like, I know I'm a pervert. Again, alluding back to what I said before, that he's very self-aware. So weird. But anyway, again, since he's been out, he was not quiet about his crime at all. Like, you would think that you've got this second chance, you lucky son of a bitch got this second chance. You would think that he would try to, like, change his name or go into hiding or just be low key. Not at all. He literally took his little 15 minutes of fame and ran it into the ground. He wrote books about his crimes, detailed books. He made comics with detailed pictures of everything that he did. He did several interviews, which he was paid up to $20,000 each for, where he would talk about his crimes. He does not, and if you watch the Vice interview, he does not show any remorse. Like, he talks about it so casually, like it was a regular, normal, like, day. Like, how you talk about, like, I don't know, like, just something so casually, like, casually. It's crazy. He did so many different, like, other different publicity things. He filmed a reality show where he took a woman on a date, and he had her promise to have sex with him at the end of the date. I think he said they had to have sex, like, 3 times or something. And then after they had sex, he would tell her what he had done. So he would describe his crimes and everything, but not until after they had sex. So it did happen. You could see a little clip of it on the Vice interview. When he told her, the girl was immediately horrified. But later, they would actually become very good friends, which is very weird. Like, I can't see myself remaining friends with this psychotic man after being, like, I don't know. But he actually says the friendship with her changed his twisted desires he had about women, which I don't know how true that is, because he still went on to talk about women the same way that he had always, so I don't really know what he meant by that, but whatever. He really just became really famous in Japan. Like, he had his 15 minutes of fame, which is so weird to me. Like, people would even ask him to autograph their books like he was a celebrity. Like, it's one thing to be fascinated about a case and, you know, talk about it like we talk about it on True Crime, but they were, like, treating him like he was a celebrity. Like, what he had done was good. Like, he did something notable. Like, he murdered somebody and ate them. Like, why are you treating him like he just released a pop song and he's popular. He even said that the media, quote, made him the godfather of cannibalism, and I'm happy about that. Like, he's happy that people were praising him. Like, he's proud, and it's so weird to me. And he even said, he's like, again, very self-aware. He even said, Japanese people are so stupid. Like, they're literally praising me for killing somebody and eating somebody. Like, he was aware that it was weird and crazy. And yet they still did all this shit to continue this 15 minutes of fame he was having. He appeared in another porn video where he was in an underground club where women allowed themselves to be drugged and like have sex or raped or something. And in the video, someone starts killing and dismembering the women in the club. And Issei appears in it pretending to eat the body parts. Another porn he was in, they had him chew on a girl's butt. They made him just do all this stuff that like gave you a look, pretty much, in a way of what he actually did. Like, they were praising it. And I want to know who was watching this shit. Why would you want to create content like this? That's like so disturbing. Like, you can't, the woman, Renee, really just could not rest in peace. Everything was being made a mockery out of. Doing that, they were just making a mockery out of the case. And I cannot imagine how her family felt. Imagine your daughter or friend died by the hands of this psychotic man, and he ate her, and now he's out free after not even serving much time, and now he's making a mockery of the situation by doing weird shit like this. It's all just so frustrating to me, which is why I said before, like, you can't even be happy that he made all these dumb decisions and got caught so quickly, because he still didn't get really any punishment. He was in another weird film where they made him do, quote, weird things, like measuring his strength while making fun of him. And it was just kind of like a humiliation film. They also had he was in another film where they had a girl dress up like Little Red Riding Hood, and he dressed up as the wolf. And in this film, I don't know what the hell the film is about. Again, if you watch the Vice interview, they do like show a little clip. It's weird. It's very fucking weird. I don't know what the hell was going on in it. And I really don't know who was watching this stuff. But in it, he makes a joke. She comments on like how small his mouth is, and he goes, "I could still eat you." All this stuff, just making a mockery, pretty much. People were just playing on his crimes and just trying to make money where they could, and people were eating that shit up. And they were able to make all this content, and he was able to make a nice living at the time for killing and dismembering and eating a woman. So this woman is dead, and he's able to profit from it in the most ridiculous, disrespectful ways possible. Another thing was that after he applied to this French language school, and he almost got accepted to it because the manager, I guess the person who was accepting applicants, was impressed by his courage to use his real name on the application. So I guess instead of using a fake name, he would assume that he would, try to use a fake name. He used his name, Issei Sagawa, and for some reason this impressed the manager. I don't really know why that impressed him, but the staff wasn't having it. So they were like, "We are not working with a cannibal. Are you crazy?" So he was rejected. But other than that, he just kind of did a lot of odd jobs. Like, he was writing reviews for restaurants. He was on a cooking show where he tasted different meats. Obviously, you know what that was about. He would paint pictures of like attractive naked women and sell them, and he just kind of did whatever to make money, and money was to be made at the time. Like, he was a local celebrity, it seemed like. That all ended though. I mean, after a little while, it's like, how many more interviews can you do? The crime is the same. Like, the interview stopped kind of rolling in. There was less money to be made. He's no longer this celebrity in Japan, thank God. But now he lives in a quiet life alone in an apartment provided by the Japanese government in a small area outside of Tokyo. He finally has a new name after he ran his into the ground. Now he has a new name. And listen to this. He says it's very hard to find employment, and he can no longer find publishers for his writing, and people aren't really interested in interviewing him anymore. He said it's really hard to try to make a real living when you're known as a murderer and a cannibal. Or actually, I'm sorry, I quoted that wrong. He said that being forced to make a living while being known as a murderer and a cannibal was a terrible punishment. Are you kidding me? Like, how delusional do you need to be? You barely got a punishment. You should be spending the rest of your life in jail, and you were able to walk scot-free in like 2 to 4 years. And you don't have any right to say anything but a terrible punishment. People get more time for less crimes, and you're gonna say that that's a terrible punishment? You deserve to, like, die. How crazy. He is shunned by most of his family. His parents struggled a lot after this. I mean, come on. Their son was a cannibal. His dad was forced to quit his job, and his mom tried to commit suicide. But eventually they both died from different illnesses, I believe back in like 2005 or something. But again, going back to that Vice interview that happened in 2011, I believe, this is kind of the updates that I got from that. He is in a wheelchair now. He needs daily assistance. In 2013, he was hospitalized and he had a cerebral infarction. I don't know if that word is right or if I'm saying that right, but it caused him to have permanent nerve damage. So he's wheelchair bound and he needs 24-hour assistance. So his brother helps take care of him, and his brother, side note, actually said that he has some desires, weird desires, I should say, of his own, but he didn't really get too into detail, and he never acted on them. He actually claimed he'd probably die without ever knowing what, I guess, acting on them rather. And it's so weird because Issei kind of defended it, oh, no, my brother's actions or desires rather are not as bad as mine. It was a competition of who had the weirdest desires. It's just this family, some shit has to have been going down on the low. What is the brother now wanting to do? I don't know. His brother helped take care of him. He had some caregivers, but in that same interview, and I keep referring back to it because it was a great interview. He actually is saying all this. They're interviewing him, and he's saying all this in his own words. He said that he still has the same thoughts and desires, and he thinks about how he could do it. I don't know if he meant how he could do it, he was trying to actually do it again, or if he just thinks about it for the satisfaction or something like that. But he says that he still gets the same cannibalistic thoughts, and it gets worse in the summer when women wear less, and that when he did get them, he would masturbate just to get off to it, and that would kind of lessen the intensity. And he said if he can't, then the intensity and desire gets worse. Karma hit because he's impotent now and he can't masturbate. So he is very scared that because he can't, his desires will come back full force. He actually also said he can't imagine not tasting another woman's butt or body or eating a woman's thigh before he dies. He says he thinks about it and says at least he would be satisfied before he died if he was able to eat a woman one more time. He even said not in the interview, but he had said in a different article that I read that he also thinks about different ways that he would eat at this time. It wasn't enough last time, the grilling, the frying. He thinks about new ways that he can make it better. And one way he said is cutting it up thinly, shabu shabu style. He thinks that would really he would be able to savor the natural flavors of the meat that way. Just sick shit. And he's still talking about this, and he is out of jail. So all of that is really scary. I know the part where it's he thinks his intensity is gonna get worse because he can't masturbate anymore. All sounds scary, but it's pretty impossible for him to do that because now he is also not able to eat. He is fed through a tube. So I think his days of cannibalism are done. I think that he is done, capped out. I mean, thank God. The man's 72 fucking years old now, I think. He's still alive and kicking. And he's still just as crazy as he was back when he was 32 and did some crazy shit. It's his mindset is never going to change, especially when he's not doing anything to actively try to change it. I didn't see anything about him having gone to therapy after or anything to try to do what he could to see if he could make his mind somewhat better. I mean, if you're that crazy, I don't think there's much that you could do at that point, but I don't know. It's all just so crazy. There's so much to digest. I don't know if that was the best word to use, I'm sorry, but there's just so much to think about with something like this, and this is why I wanted to give you guys all these little details that may have kind of seemed insignificant, but I'm telling you that when I started reading more and more details, as insignificant as they may sound, it really does help you try to get into his mind more, and that's why I kept posting a lot of my opinions and just things I was observing, because it really, this is crazy. But I will end this by saying the last thing that he wants, I guess now, since his desires of cannibalism can never be fulfilled, he said he wants to die being tortured and murdered by a beautiful woman. That is his final goal. Great goal, Issei. Honestly, you probably deserve it, but I hope that it's a man who gets you, so you're not, like, excited about it. Like, he is one for the books. So, that is the end of this case. We are clocking in here at 1 hour and 9 minutes, which is kind of about, like, how long I thought this was going to be. I feel like most of my cases are going to be around this time because, like I said, I do like to try to go into detail. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it was good. If it wasn't, give me another chance. This is my first time. I got to get the groove of it, but I'm really excited to do this. This was really fun. I feel like I could finally talk to people who will listen, because nobody else will listen to this in my life. No one else is into it like that except for my aunt. So it's fun to, this was fun. It was fun to kind of talk and dissect and let all my thoughts out that I've just been thinking in my head. It kind of feels cool to, like, be able to talk it out, and I think it'll be really cool if I get listens to be able to talk to other people and, like, we can exchange theories or thoughts or whatever. So follow me on my social medias. I'm gonna have them linked or written below in the show notes, but Instagram and Twitter is at Drink and Dissect, and then TikTok is at Drink and Dissect Podcast. I might switch my Instagram to at Drink and Dissect Podcast, but I will have it, again, written down below. Follow me on there so that you could see the pictures I'm going to post that correspond with this case, and also so you could see when I upload, so we can chat, you know what I mean? Follow me on TikTok, because I think I'm going to put, like, little snippets of the cases that I'm covering on my podcast there, just to, you know, get people knowing what's going on. Yeah, so I'm excited to continue this. Thank you so much for watching, or listening rather, and I will see you when we have our next case next week. Bye, guys.